I want to start by telling you a story. Not so much a story, but just share a little experience from my own life. A few weeks ago, well, this has happened multiple times in my life, actually, but it happened again a few weeks ago. I was in this situation at work. I won't tell you where I work because I don't want you guys to think poorly of the people I work with. But I was in this place at work, and I was in a meeting. I was having a meeting with some people, and I made a suggestion. And they didn't listen to me. And then they threw some more work at me as if I was responsible to take care of all these details, which really was their responsibility. And then when I made more suggestions and tried to work out the problem and the situation and the issue, they just didn't want any part of it, and it was thrown back on me. I left that meeting so frustrated and annoyed. It took me probably 2 or 3 hours afterwards to get everything figured out in my own little brain, just so I could keep on working. I was so annoyed because they weren't listening to me. I was so frustrated because they weren't treating me the way I deserved to be treated in the position I was in. And I left that meeting feeling like I do not deserve this. I do not deserve to be treated this way. This situation comes up in work a lot with people, and you might be able to connect with this, whether it's work or whatever it is you do full time during the day, whether that's taking care of people or if that's at home or at school or whatever it is that you do all day, every day. You might find this same situation where you're trying to do something and people just assume that you're going to take care of everything. They leave things lying around, they leave things undone, and expect you to pick up the pieces and make it all work. And then when you make suggestions, they either treat you like you're too young and you don't know what you're doing, or you're too old and you're out of touch and you have no idea what you're talking about. And so you leave work feeling like, I do not deserve this. You might feel this at home, just in your own home life. Whether it's your home, just the house you actually live in, or if it's the relationships, your family, you might deal with this in your marriage, where you think, my spouse just doesn't ever actually listen to me. And they never follow through. They say they're going to do things, but they never follow through. They never do the things that they say. The kids are annoying. They're frustrating. The house is in disrepair. There are things that are broken that were promised to be fixed, and they're not fixed. And you leave this situation feeling, I don't deserve to be in this situation. I don't deserve this treatment. I don't deserve this house. I don't deserve these problems. I don't deserve this. You might feel like this while you're shopping. You go into a store, you look for a certain product, you can't find the product, so you're frustrated because they don't have the product you want. You go to the clerk, you ask the clerk, and then they make some kind of snide remark that makes you feel like you're an actual bother to them. Or even worse, you walk into a store, and because you're not dressed a certain way, they completely ignore you and don't bother giving you any help or acknowledging your presence. And you leave that store feeling, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this treatment. I don't deserve this kind of experience. I'm a paying customer. I do not deserve this. You might even feel like this in church. You might come to church and you might be around people and you feel like no one's actually paying attention to you. You feel like no one's giving you the attention you think you deserve. You bring up suggestions and ideas and your comments, and people don't seem to actually listen. No one seems to let you lead anything. No one lets you. You just feel like you're not really as valued as you should be, and you leave church feeling, I don't deserve this judgment. I don't deserve this. And you get this feeling that swells up right down in here, and it's this frustration and this anger of, I don't deserve that. I don't deserve it. So that begs the question, what do we deserve? What are, in reality, our rights? We have a right to free speech. Yes? As long as we're in North America. We have a right to health care. As long as you're in Canada. I have a right to my own religious beliefs. As long as you're not in the Middle East. I have a right to clean water. As long as I've actually got indoor plumbing. I have a right to a working car if you've got the money for it. I have the right to clean clothes as long as fill in the blank. So what makes our rights, the things that we call rights, rights, and for other people they're not rights? Maybe it has something to do with what we deserve, what we earn. You deserve what you earn, right? You deserve what you earn. And so it could be a matter of, well, if I put the time and the effort in to earn a job, I deserve to have a job. If I put the time and the effort in to work at my job, I deserve to earn pay. I've earned it, right? And so, I mean, Proverbs says this, and it says in Timothy, Paul says, "For the scriptures say, you shall not muzzle an ox when it treads out the grain, and the laborer deserves his wages." So is this where rights come from? Is what we earn, is what we deserve? You go to work, you deserve pay. You work your entire life, you deserve to retire. You take out a loan, you deserve to pay it back. You speed, you deserve to pay the ticket. You commit a crime, you deserve to go to jail. You sin, you deserve... Oh yeah, that doesn't really work to our favor either, does it? Because Paul says in his letter to the Romans that the wages, or what you earn from sin, is death. So if rights aren't universal, and what we earn is less than what we would really aspire to, what's the reality of our situation? The reality of the situation is that good things in life are not rights. They're gifts. The good things, the good opportunities, the good relationships, everything good in this life is not a right. They're gifts. There's always a cost to them. Now, let me give you an example. Large, big vision, okay? World War II. Hitler and his Nazis. Okay? World War. Whole world involved. If Hitler had won, we would not be in this place right now. We would not be in this church doing this thing. I would not be allowed to speak as I'm speaking. Some of you would not be living. There would be no freedom. There would be no way of life outside of what Hitler and his Nazis determined. There would be mass poverty, and only what he wanted to happen would be happening. The reason we're not in that situation is because someone before us went and sacrificed to put an end to it. The fact that we have a country called Canada is not a right. People fought and died and sacrificed for this to even exist. Life here is not a right. It's a very costly gift. Bring it down a little bit closer to home. Me, I would not be here. I would not have a job. I would not have teeth. I would not have clothes if my parents had not taken the time, the energy, and the income they had earned and spent it on me, feeding me, teaching me, disciplining me, giving me clothes, sending me to school, helping me do my taxes. None of that would have happened if they hadn't given it to me. It cost them a lot. I did not deserve that. That is not a right I have. That is a gift. If you think, again, every area of your life, if William Wilberforce hadn't fought to abolish the slave trade, there'd still be slavery. If scientists and doctors had not studied and studied and studied and figured out cures to things like malaria and diarrhea and different diseases that are really super simple, half the population would still be getting sick and dying from these things. These things are not rights. They're gifts. And when it comes to us and God, it's the same thing. Paul says, he says, God saved us and called us to holy calling, not because of our works, but because of his own purpose and grace. Grace being undeserved favor, a gift you don't deserve, which he gave us in Christ Jesus before the ages began. You go back to the Old Testament, you look at a verse in Ezekiel, and God says, "It is not for your sake that I will act, declares the Lord. Let that be known to you. Be ashamed and confounded for your ways." You don't deserve the salvation I'm giving you. You don't deserve it. Daniel, an incredible man of the Old Testament, lived righteous his entire life. And he still cries out to God and says, "O Lord, hear. O Lord, forgive. O Lord, pay attention and act. Delay not, for your own sake. O God, incline your ear and hear. Open our eyes and see our desolations, and the city that is called by your name. And we do not present our pleas before you because of our righteousness, because we deserve it, but because of your great mercy." It's pretty hard to get angry about something and say, "Well, I don't deserve that," when you start to see things that way. When you understand exactly what we do deserve and how good things in life are not rights, but are gifts. We are not entitled to anything. If you're at work and you feel entitled to more respect and better pay, you don't. You don't. You are not entitled to that. That is not a right. When I got that through my head, a whole lot of frustration and anger just kind of left me. And when that happens, there's this incredible freedom to stop worrying about what you can get out of the situation, and you start to see situations as opportunities, openings, availabilities. How can I work in this situation? Okay, that's a problem. How can I make a difference here? What can I do? Where can I fill in the gap? What needs to happen? And it stops becoming about what I can get and what I deserve, because even what I'm getting, even if it's not great, even if it's bad, it's probably better than what I deserve. If you're at home and you feel like you deserve a better marriage, or you deserve a better house, or you deserve a better family, you don't. You are not entitled to that. That is not a right that you possess. Now, am I saying that if you're in the situation where things are bad and there's all kinds of arguments and all these things are happening, or you're being abused, that you deserve that? No. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you deserve that. I'm saying that you don't have a right to something better. The something better comes from the gift of God. In particular, in your marriage, it comes from the gift of your spouse and the gift of you giving back to your spouse. It is not a right. It is not something you are entitled to. Too much of this entitlement leads to, well, I don't deserve this, so I can find whatever opportunity I can to fill in the gap. That entitlement isn't real. You are not entitled to a better family. You are not entitled to a better marriage, and you are not entitled to a better home. You have been given a gift to go to the throne of grace and ask God to change it because you need it, not because you have a right to it. If you're at the store and you're dealing with just a really annoying clerks or a really pompous kind of staff person, and you feel like you are entitled to better service, you're not. Because let's be honest here. For us to be served at all is more than we deserve. And when you realize that, you stop looking for how you can use people and make them earn their pay. And it almost becomes this opportunity just to serve them, even though they're supposed to technically be serving you for money. If you're in the church and you feel entitled to more say and better people around you, you aren't entitled to that. You don't deserve that. Because the church was not grounded and founded and built on the blood of Christ just so that we could be comfortable. It was not for us, even. It's for Him. To reach the lost, the lonely, the hurting, the broken, the frustrating, the smelly, the ugly, the arrogant, the prideful, the stubborn, the addicted, the annoying people of this world. And if you're catching my drift, you realize that we're in that same category. And it's pretty hard to look at anybody else and say that they're judging you when you realize you've been judging them. The good things in life and the changes that come and the changes that come, the changes that can come to how you're treated in your home, the changes that can come to changing how your work is, to the changes that come in how you experience people in the market, the changes that come inside your church, they are not rights. We are not entitled to these things. They are gifts. Gifts that are given to you at a very high cost. Now, Jen, if you guys want to come up and get set up. We're going to sing a few songs here. And I want you to be thinking about this over the course of these songs. I want you to be soaking in those messages, and then at the end of the 3 songs, I'm going to come up and I'm going to give you something to help you keep thinking over this over the next week or so. But I want you to enter into worship with the single thought in your mind that the good things that God can give you and the good things of life are not rights. You are not entitled to them. They are very, very, very expensive gifts.